What up, Doe? I'm Akil Adams. I wanted to make this video because I don't feel like people are being honest. Let me give you a little background about me. Many moons ago, I was a professional hockey player. I'm from Detroit, Michigan, and when I say I'm from Detroit, I'm really from Detroit. I'm really from the east side. I grew up on East Grand Boulevard and Mac. I'm not from the suburbs. You'll hear people say all the time that they're from Detroit, but they're not really from Detroit. I'm really from Detroit. I grew up on the east side, down the street from Swanson's Funeral Home, East Grand Boulevard and Mac. Check your map if you know what I'm talking about. But I'm really from Detroit. I grew up on the east side, but I started my hockey career, if you want to call it that, but it was really just fun. And I started out having fun playing hockey at Jack Adams Arena over on Lindens and Myers on the west side. And that's where I developed my game, I guess you could say. That's where I started to learn how to play the game, learn the rules of the game and whatnot. So I started off at Jack Adams, along with a lot of other black kids that started at Jack Adams and just never really did anything, but we had about it was a lot of teams. We had almost 5 teams in each age group division, and they were all black. There were a few white kids mixed in there, but mostly black, a few Mexicans, but mostly black. And that's from Detroit, right? So I started at Jack Adams. Started playing a little travel hockey at Jack Adams. Played for the Detroit Rockies. Mr. Harold Shelton, shouts out. Mr. Stevens, shouts out. And my father, who was a coach, Jack Adams, John Adams, shouts out. We started playing double-A travel hockey with the Rockies. It was all of our first experience really doing it. We didn't do that well, but we ended up playing in a PAL, which is not USA Hockey certified, so it's not the same thing, but we played some other PAL teams from New York, Bridgeport, Connecticut, that's where the tournament was, and we won a national championship, but it was a PAL national championship, not USA Hockey, but we did do well. Enough to where it made our season actually feel like we did something, where we got this pants beat off of us all year. We didn't do that well, and I just want people to know that it was a PAL national championship. I'm not saying it was a USA Hockey certified championship. We got killed in USA Hockey, but it made us all feel good. We had an all-black team. We won we won a PAL national championship, and I think I was playing up a year. I was 8. Everybody else was 9. And from there, I decided to try to play AAA. My boy Drake Coppage was the first one to leave Jack Adams and play AAA and do well, and I followed him. His dad was the one that gave my dad information on where to go and next steps and that kind of thing. So Drake was the first one to leave Jack Adams. That should be documented, and Drake did well, but it's not documented. People are lying. A lot of people are lying about what they did and where they played, and I don't understand why you would lie about it. You know, it's a fun game. Why not tell the truth? Why not give people shine? Like I just gave Drake shine because he was the first one to leave Jack Adams successfully and go play for Total Healthcare. Drake was the first one to go play AAA. Drake. So I had to say that, and I had to give shouts out. So from there, I go play AAA, and you know, I did okay. Not really understanding the game as well. Still needing a lot of things to be worked out. And you know, I bounced around from A to AA, and then finally to A, and then from there, I had a friend on my team when I played on Monroe's, which was a team. They played out of Grosse Pointe, and Hockey Arena, which is in obviously in Grosse Pointe, but it's on Mac, and I can't remember, Mac and Canyon, I think it is. But it was behind a Jeep Ricci dealership, I think it is now, if it is still a Jeep Ricci dealership there. But Mr. Buffalino, the famous lawyer, Bill Buffalino, was the one who owned that team. And this kid also played on the team. And I had another friend on the team that was from Grosse Pointe. And Fredericton was the one that mentioned my name because he was attending the University of Liggett at the time. So he was the one that mentioned my name to the varsity coach at the University of Liggett. Like, oh, we got this guy on my team, maybe he'd be good for you. So they came over and recruited me. And from there, from Monroe's, I went to the University of Liggett and played high school hockey there. Had a really tough time getting in academically, but that's another story. And had a tough time there academically anyway. But it helped me hockey-wise because I was 14 playing against older players. It helped me get confidence. So after the year was done, Doug Wood was the guy on our team that was casting me out. He was the best player and broke all these records and everything. So at the end of the season, I remember asking him like where he was going to college or if any college to talk to him. He laughed at me and said, "Nah, what are you talking about? None of us are going to be good enough to go to college." I went home and told my dad that, and I was like, "Hey man, I don't want to be like him. I want to go. I want to play. I don't want to be here if he's the best player and getting all these accolades and putting up all these numbers in high school and he's not going anywhere. I don't want to stay here." So we made a decision to leave University of Liggett. And it wasn't a hard decision because I wasn't doing well academically. I was having a hard time with my behavior at, such a prominent elitist school. I remember I'm from East Grand Boulevard and Mac. A lot of that was out of my, it was a different world, believe me, but a very good experience. I met some fantastic people. I have nothing but good things to say about University of Liggett. It was absolutely one of the best decisions my family ever made and one of the best opportunities I've ever received. And I'm so thankful that I was able to do it because it opened my eyes to just like life, being on a team with Matty Maroon. And I remember he told a story about, well, not story, I asked him what he did because I was asking everybody what they did because everybody was so wealthy. And he said he owned the Ambassador Bridge, and I didn't believe him. Turns out he did. But at any rate, at the time he was like 15 or 16. His dad was the one that owned it. But that was a really eye-opening experience. I went from Liggett back to AAA hockey with the with Michigan Nationals with Mr. Slater, Pete Slater, who I think was one of the best coaches I've ever had, Mr. Slater, where I had a chance to play with the great Chris Slater, who ended up playing at Michigan State and Western later on, but Dennis Wright, who ended up playing at UMass, I think Lowell, but he played D1. Richard Keys, who played D1 at Michigan State. They were all on those teams. It was a really talented team. However, I was struggling. I was a forward that didn't really understand how to be effective. I knew how to hit, and I knew how to skate fast, but I didn't know how to create, and wasn't really scoring. So my second year, I go back to the Michigan Nationals. This would have been when I was 16, and I was a junior in high school, and I started out playing forward with the Michigan Nationals. Mr. Slater had a conversation with me like halfway through the year about my attitude, and I'll get into that in another video, but basically he told me that I had to move back to defense in order to stay on the team. Best thing that ever happened to me. Wasn't something that we expected to happen, but it happened. Turns out I saw the ice a whole lot better playing defense than I did it forward, and had a great year, the rest of the year. So good, I ended up getting drafted, not to the NHL, but to the United States Hockey League in the second round to the Big Fighting Saints. I went in the first round of the Michigan National Hockey League or whatever, junior, I forgot what it was called here. It's so long ago, forgive me, I'm getting older, but I didn't want to play here because the team wasn't going to be that good. I was going to be like I was a I think I was the first overall pick in that North American Hockey League draft. And I didn't want to play here. I thought that it would have been too much pressure. So Dubuque was much more, was a much better team, much better talent. That was a team that had the Chris and Peter Ferraro brothers on it, the great Maurice Hall, the great Eustace King, who's now an agent. But there was just so many guys that were so good on that team. A lot of guys from Alaska. But anyway, I ended up going to Dubuque, but barely made it. Like, what the conversation he had with me and my father before he left in the hotel room was, "Keel, you got a spot on the team, but you're going to come in as a number 9 defenseman." Number 9? God damn, they only dress 6, maybe 7. I'm gonna be 9 to start. Okay, so my father and I talk about it. I decided I wanted to take the challenge. Thank God I did, and I went to Dubuque as a number 9 and started the season as a number 6. Because I'm a Detroit man. I'm from Detroit. So I took that challenge. I made the most out of it. I started out as a number 6 defenseman instead of the number 9 in Dubuque. Later, I became an all-star in the United States Hockey League. When the season ended, I was second team all-league, and I had a lot of schools asking me to come there. I broke it down to 3, which I ended up going to visit the University of North Dakota, St. Cloud State University, and Ferris State. Ferris State was on the verge of losing their program. Remember, this is 91, 92. So they were on the verge of losing their program. Made me iffy, but I did love the coach, who's still there. But I wasn't comfortable with where they were as a program. St. Cloud had a football coach who was the head coach. And I wasn't comfortable with that either, although my man Taj Milson, shout out to Taj Milson, he's another black player that was from Minnesota. He went to St. Cloud, had a good career there, but I ended up going to North Dakota. Really didn't know where to go, but that seemed like the best place because they put the most pros in college hockey. They didn't have a good year that year, and they needed some guys to come in and help the program, right? So I ended up getting a full ride to North Dakota. I go to North Dakota. I don't do that well my freshman year. Didn't really do that well my sophomore year. But I felt like I just wasn't getting an opportunity. So with that, I decided to leave North Dakota and called a bunch of teams in OHL. Finally got a bite from my man Kevin McIntosh. Shout out to Kevin McIntosh. I finally got a bite from him. I played against his teams in Windsor when I was younger. And he remembered me and my speed and gave me an opportunity to come in and try out during the Christmas break. So during the Christmas break, we're on break at North Dakota, and everybody's going home for Christmas, whatever. I go back to Detroit. Windsor's right across the border. So I go and I do a little tryout for the Spitfires. Jovanovski was there, Ed Jovanovski was there, and some guys from their Tier 2 team. So I ended up making a team, and they gave me an opportunity to come there and play. So I left North Dakota. I never told the coach anything. I just left. I went back. Basically, I made a team in Windsor, flew back to North Dakota. Yes, because my car was there. I had a truck, an old Dodge Ram. And it wasn't like these new ones. It was an old 87, I think, Dodge Ram. But anyway, so I go back to North Dakota, and I get, hey, you two, fuck off. No. Sorry. Dogs. But anyway, I go back to North Dakota and get my truck, pack my stuff, drive back to Windsor, basically to Detroit, because I was staying with my parents at the time, and went to go play with Windsor right away. I was right in the lineup, went right away, and I got a call back from the great Gino Gasparini. And Gino, man, I'm sorry. I should have never did that. It was the most unprofessional thing. You gave me a great opportunity. I was young, immature, and I didn't handle that well. And at the time, I thought it was a great decision, and it ended up being a good decision. Maybe it would have been a better decision to talk to you, and then maybe come up with something better. But at that time, it was the best decision. So I ended up going to Windsor. I'm on a good team with some really good players. Ed Jovanovski, like I mentioned, was on that team. He went first overall that next season. Bill Bowler, probably Windsor's all-time man. I think he's the president of the Windsor Spitfires now. And Dave Roach was on that team. My boy Mike Martin. I love Mike Martin. He was a real good player. We had some really talented players on that team, and we ended up making the playoffs. I did pretty decent. So then the second year comes back, they had to pick 3 OAs, or I think you could have 3, or no, it was 2, I think. But you could start out with 3, I don't know, cut it down to 2, whatever it was. We had too many overagers. It was me, myself, Daryl Lavoie, Corey Evans, Bill Bowler, too many. So basically, I started the season in Windsor that year. That would have been when I was 20, and I ended up getting traded because we had too many OAs, so I ended up getting traded to Ottawa, 67s. I get traded to Ottawa 67s. I'm there with Sean Donovan, who was only there for a cup of coffee. I met him one time, and then he was called up to San Jose and stayed up in San Jose and never came back, right out of the OHL. And then Kevin Weeks was there. Alan McCulley was there. Who else? We had some studs on that team. But my boy Freddie Oduya, God rest in peace. Freddie, toughest man I ever met. Swedish black guy, half black. And the black side was whooping major butt. He was very, very tough. And was a San Jose pick. But at any rate, I'm skipping over some things, but I'm going to come back to them later in some other videos. But basically, I just want to tell what happened and tell what it is and what's real, because so many people out here lying about where they played, what they did, and they didn't do it. And then they won't bring in their age. And when they did it, I was true freshman 18 as a freshman, not 20, 21, like it's common in hockey for that to happen. Nah, not me. Only 1 year back playing defense. My second year on defense, I was in the USHL as an all-star. My third year, I'm as a D1 guy. My third year playing defense. That's it. Anyway, people can't do that. They haven't done it since then. I was the first black hockey player at the University of North Dakota, and there hasn't been one since. That was 30 years ago. And people are lying about what they did and not being honest about what they did. So I felt like I had to do this because nobody's giving me any props. So I'm going to have to give myself props. I'm going to have to tell you the real thing. I'm going to tell you what's undisputed and what you can look up. You can research. Everything I said is 100% accurate. So after leaving the OHL, I aged out. I didn't have anywhere to go. A lot of East Coast League teams were calling me. One team in particular here in Detroit, I think they were the Fraser Falcons at one point or something like that. And they ended up being the Port Huron Bordercats. But the guy that was a GM, I knew indirectly through some people from Liggett, and he was some kind of way involved with, the Bordercats, ended up becoming a general manager. But at the time, I'm aged out. I don't have anywhere to go. I don't have any NHL camps to go to. So he says, hey, you come play with us here. And I might have been Fraser at the time, but they ended up moving to Port Huron. But he's like, I'll get you a tryout in the American League. So I'm like, you give me a tryout in the American League? He's like, yeah, I really wanted the NHL tryout, but I couldn't get nothing. So American League was the best I could do. So I ended up taking the tryout. Well, he didn't think I would make the team, and it was 35 guys there trying out. There was 2 guys that made the cut. Me and my homie Roach, well, he's not that, but he played in the Sioux, very good defenseman. He and I made it, but I ended up being the one that stuck all year, never got sent down. So I'm in the American League. I had a pretty good year. From the American League, I didn't get re-signed. Myriad of reasons why that might not have happened. I don't think it was based on talent, but I think it was based on other things, other factors. And at any rate, I ended up playing in the U-Haul United Hockey League the next year with the same guy, Costa Pisa, who got me the trial the year before. I was really pissed off about being there. I didn't want to be there. Nothing against Costa. He was a great guy. Nothing against that team, but I just didn't want to be there. And I ended up getting an opportunity. I had an agent at the time, terrible agent, but he was an agent. He got me a contract in Germany in Division I to play in Bremerhaven. So I played in Bremerhaven. I left Port Huron and basically got the information while I was at practice. I don't know what happened. If I came off the ice and took a call, or if I did it right after practice, but basically had to go home, pack, and leave. I didn't have time to even really think about it. Go, leave, go play in Germany. So I'm over in Germany. I played in Germany. I had a pretty good year in Germany, and in Division I back then. And we're talking about, like, this must have been, 97. So the next year, I didn't like playing over in Germany. Not that it wasn't a great place. It was. I don't have any bad experiences. It was great. I just really didn't want to be in playing in Germany at that point in my career. I thought I could play in the American League and our IHL, and I wanted a chance to come back and show if I could do it. So I ended up going back to try it again in Fort Wayne in the IHL. Didn't make it, got cut, even though I had a pretty decent camp, but I got cut. And then I ended up going back to Port Huron again with my man Casa Papista. Casa was always in my corner. Very, very good man. Got a lot of good things to say about him. He did a lot to help me out. Always there for me in a pinch. And if I call him to this day, and I did, he's always been there for me in a pinch. So Casa's a very good guy, and was always really helpful to me, and did a lot of good things for me. But at any rate, play in Germany, come back the next year. I'm in Fort Wayne, get cut. Then I go to, which was in the IHL at the time. Then I go back to Port Huron. Hated it, didn't want to be there. Bad attitude the whole time I was there. Terrible team guy the same time I was there. Didn't want to be there. Thought I was better than everybody. And I was, but I didn't want to. I shouldn't have been like that, but I was. So I ended up getting hurt there towards the end of the season. Had an abdomen issue, injury. Took me out for the back half of the season. Although they traded me while I was hurt to Muskegon in the United Hockey League. And I only played 6 games there, but I had an abdomen injury. I really couldn't play that well, couldn't skate that well. But, you know, they gave me some money to go, so I ended up going. And then I had to sit out almost 6 months the next season because, well, including the summer. And I didn't come back to February the next year. And I show up in the Western Pro League, Western Professional Hockey League in Arkansas, Glacier Cats, with my boy Tim Finley, who was there. Ryan Pollock was there. I just want to name a few guys who were very good players. There's more. I hope I'm not forgetting. I know I am probably forgetting the people, but it was a long time ago. But it was a good team. Jimmy Burton was a coach there. He played with Wayne Gretzky. But anyway, had a good year there. I came back in the second half, 16 points, 16 games. Got called up to the IHL, played 10 games there. That's where I played with, I think it was Lukovic. What's my man? Sim. His last name was Sim. He played in Dallas. Marty Turco. And that one tough guy that was in Thunder Bay. But I'm going to tell you something. That motherfucker was tough in the U-Haul. I forget his fucking name, and I'll bring it back up later. But I never seen him get beat up so bad when he was in the IHL, and I'm sure he's around talking about how tough he was. Not that year. Now when he went up to the IHL, he was getting worked, horribly worked. And this dude was a legend in the UHL. He was supposed to be the toughest guy ever. He went up to the I, and they showed him why he wasn't the toughest guy and why he was not in the IHL and the NHL even more so. They just gave him a shot because he had been down there so long, beating everybody up, and he was like a legend down there. And I don't want to mention his name because it really ain't worth mentioning, but he wasn't tough in that league. But at any rate, I played the 10 games. I come back the next year to try out in Kalamazoo, thinking I might get a shot. General manager offers me a contract. The same contract I got my first year was a 2-way contract with Kalamazoo and Fort Wayne. I turned it down. I wanted a 1-way. I wanted some money. Well, at least I wanted $50,000 at the time. You know, 50, 60 grand, I would have been fine and on a 1-way, but I didn't want a 2-way. I felt like I didn't need that. So I turned it down. Went back to the Western Pro League. And that's basically where it ended. I went back to the Western Pro League, still more frustration. And my frustration is what led me to stop playing. I gave it 6 years. I felt like I wasn't getting my due. But again, that's how I felt then. And that's what made me stop. But I just wanted to set the record straight. I'm Akil Adams. I'm Detroit hockey. I'm the first black player to play everything. D1, American League. Nobody's gotten further than I have. Nobody's played more games than I have. And nobody's played the level that I have. So when you hear these people getting on the national television talking about they played pro and they didn't. National television talking about they did something in hockey and they didn't. And people are all lying about what they used to do and what they did do because people won't go back and fact check them. Fact check me. I'm really from Detroit, and I really did it. Now, looking back on it, I was so disappointed at what I did. I haven't seen anybody do it yet. I haven't seen anybody do it since. So you can say what you say. I didn't play in the NHL, I play at a really high level, and I'm really from Detroit. I'm the king of Detroit hockey. I'm the first, and I'm the only. And I'm hoping it'll be some more, but it's been 30 years. Where you at?